what are the benefits of getting Singapore citizenship over Singapore PR status? This is the topic of discussion. And just to explain a bit more, in previous videos, we have talked about EP, S-Pass or dependent pass status versus permanent residency. So in this presentation, we are going to understand differences between permanent residency and citizenship and what those mean to you. So moving on to the next slide, the first point is about the flexibility. So obviously, if there is a job loss, employment pass or dependent pass holders have 30 days left to close their affairs in Singapore, and after that, they will have to go back to their home country. As a PR, you get a re-entry permit which is valid for 5 years. That means even if your job is lost, you can continue staying in Singapore till the completion of this 5 years period, and even after that, you might get an extension by 1 year in case you are not economically active. In this period, you can start your business or you can explore any other career options. So there is a significant amount of flexibility here. But when it comes to citizenship, there is no concept of re-entry permit or there is no time limit. So citizenship is truly for lifetime. Once you get citizenship, you can stay in Singapore for lifetime and you don't have any restrictions of obtaining any visa for re-entry permit or anything. See, you have to understand one thing. Essentially, when you are a PR, you are still a foreign national. For example, if you are from India, you are still an Indian citizen, but staying in Singapore on a PR. Whereas in citizenship, you will be giving up your Indian citizenship and getting Singapore citizenship. So citizenship is lifetime. The next point is about career options. Now, as we know, employment pass, dependent pass holder, if there is a job loss, getting a new job is not easy, especially in current coronavirus period. For PR, it is relatively easy because visa application is not needed. However, as a citizen, you have even further flexibility because there is no time limit for which you can be unemployed. This point we have just now discussed in the previous slide. Moreover, as a citizen, you can take any available job without worrying that your income for a year or two may be low and that might have impact on your re-entry permit renewal. So that risk is not there. So as a citizen, you truly have significant flexibility. The next one is entrepreneurial flexibility. So PR can register business and run on a part-time basis also and then decide. PR can become the director of the company. He can put his family member as directors and whatever he want to do, he can do it. Same is applicable for citizen. But here again, there is a slight difference because as I said, when you get into entrepreneurship, it is possible that for first year or two, you don't have significant income. And then you might be worried that if that 2 years period comes towards the end of your re-entry period, re-entry permit 5 years duration, then you will be worried that in case you don't show any income, then your re-entry permit may get renewed only for 1 year. So that kind of concerns can be there. The next important point is that as a Singapore citizen, you can buy new HDB flat and there is no additional buyer stamp duty on private property. So as you know, only citizens are entitled to buy new HDB flat. Of course, there are some rules that you should not have bought any property prior to that flat. But if you satisfy those requirements, you are allowed to buy new HDB flat and there is no ABSD on private property or even resale flat. So if PR is buying a resale flat or a private property, they still have to pay additional buyer stamp duty of 5%. For citizen, it is 0%. That means if you are investing in a property of 1 million Singapore dollars, you save $50,000 by way of this stamp duty. The next point is about local education. So the first point is that citizens will get priority in places in the schools of repute depending upon where they stay. So if you are staying at some location and there is a very good school nearby and you want to enroll your child for primary education in that school, then you will get the priority over PR. So obviously the chances of getting places in good school improve. And the second point is, while fees for PR are subsidized, fees for citizens are even more subsidized. So I will just show you the table here. For secondary schools, as you can see, Singapore citizens have to pay $5, whereas permanent residents are paying $380 by way of fees. And at university level also, there is similar amount of significant difference. So if you have two children, as a PR, you will be paying somewhere around 700 plus fees in secondary school, whereas as a citizen, you will pay only $10. The next point is about subsidized medical facilities. So obviously Singapore government hospitals we know are some of the best in this region. And there are many foreigners who also visit these hospitals for treatment from nearby region like Malaysia and Indonesia. For PR, the charges are subsidized, but those are even further subsidized for Singapore citizens. So as you can see here, consultancy charges are $39 for citizen and $59 for permanent resident. And similarly, there is a significant amount of charges difference between further medical procedures like operations and medical treatments depending upon the class of ward you choose. So it is actually possible to have the operations or medical procedures at a significantly lower price as a citizen by opting for Ward C or Ward B. The next important point is PR itself is not permanent, citizenship is. What I mean to say is we know that when you become a PR, you get a re-entry permit, which is for 5 years. And in the last 2 years, you must be economically active. And if you are not, then renewals will happen only for 1 year or 2 years at a time. This can be a problem in two scenarios. For example, if you are in a business and that business is not working well and it is making limited amount of money, but you still want to continue with that. And that income period falls around the 2 years period, around the 2 years, last 2 years of that REP total 5 years duration. So that is one possibility. Second possibility is that sometimes people are transferred by their companies overseas. So I know a family where the main income earner was transferred to Hong Kong, and that happened around halfway through his REP period. So for last 2.5 years, he did not file any income in Singapore, and obviously then his PR he got renewal only for 1 year. So this problem is not there for citizens. As a citizen, you can actually be in business or you are transferred overseas. It doesn't really matter. You can continue. You don't have to obtain any REP. Nothing depends upon how much income you declare in Singapore. The next point is about voting rights. So obviously as a PR, you don't get rights to vote in elections. Whereas as a citizen, you will exercise your voting rights and you can participate in the community decision making in the future of the nation. The next point is, as a citizen, you can truly retire in Singapore. For example, as a PR, if a person is of 75 years of age, he will obviously have concerns if there will be any changes in ICA policies. And if, because he is not economically active, or if the person doesn't have a significant saving in Singapore, will his PR status will be at stake. So these kind of concerns can be in your mind, but these concerns are not there as a citizen because now you are truly at your home country. PR can get cancelled in case of legal prosecution. So let's see the example on the website. So we all have seen this specific news that man who breached coronavirus stay home notice stripped off Singapore PR status barred from re-entry. So there was some person, I don't know from which country he was, and he did not obey the orders which were given to him for stay home notice. And therefore his PR was cancelled. So this way, if you happen to get involved in any legal prosecution, especially in the criminal side, then in that case your PR can still be cancelled. So one of the conditions is that you should not be getting involved in any kind of crime activities. However, that risk is not there for a citizen. Because as I mentioned, as a PR, you are still a foreign national. So you can easily be, your visa status can be cancelled and you can be sent back to your home country. But that is not possible in case of citizen. Now this point is not significantly valid because 99.9% of the cases people will not get into any legal prosecution, because most of the people who are on this path are well educated and they are doing some job and of a good family background. But this kind of thing can sometimes happen in some people's life by mistake also. So that is one of the point that I wanted to highlight. So if I summarize, Singapore citizenship has lot of benefits over Singapore PR. So you need to consider your PR status carefully and decide whether you want to go to citizenship. If your plan is to permanently settle in Singapore, then definitely citizenship status is very important. In case you have a plans to work in Singapore or run your business till your retirement age only, and after that if you plan to go back to your home country, then you should stay on PR only.
Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel today. PR Application is a leading immigration consultancy company in Singapore.